So, you won. You look bored.
That's pretty good. Third one of the week. Our stuff's rolling pretty well. Obviously, only racing against half the cars. Well, at this week now, we split the field up every night except
Is this a different format than usual?
So this tonight it was not. You get to choose your prelim night, whether you race Saturday or Sunday, but obviously last night getting rained out and moved everything to today. But so you're only racing against half the guys. So obviously I felt like the first feature there was definitely tougher. But you know, as far as quality of cars, which when you got Strickler and Nicely and those type of guys, you know, they're the highest point guys here this week. So, but other than tonight, you know, they split the field up in half throughout this week, and that was different. You know, normally, you know, we got 80 cars here. You're racing against 80 cars every night.
Right.
This week they've decided to do, you know, 40 and 40 or whatever.
Yeah, it looked like you were mentioning Strickler. You know, he jumped in the other car, I guess, to maybe shake it down for Logano, or what was the deal there?
He tore his car up pretty good the other night on the first lap. The feature power steering issues and drove into one and knocked the fence down. So he tore that thing up, and then after that, you know, he didn't fix that car because it was pretty tore up, I guess. So he, the Joey car that he was, you know,
that's the one from the Dirt Car Nationals that he just really ripped the field on.
Yeah, so he was really good at Charlotte in that, so he just jumped in it. And
or, not Dirt Car National, Charlotte Dirt.
Yep. So he was good there. So he jumped in it and ran it today and seemed to struggle a little bit, you know, but definitely off his normal pace. But you'll have that. So yeah, it's just this deal's tough. You know, you got 90 of the best guys in the country, and just happy to win a couple of them.
Yeah, I was saying it was pretty close to a Chili Boat-esque kind of field. You think about it. I mean, you're missing a few of the USMTS guys, obviously, a few of the IMCA guys that you could consider USMTS, UMP level. I ain't saying they're lower level, but you know, there's
it's just different respects of racing.
USMTS would be more comparable with this because it's not a crate motor. Correct, you know, you are on the same page almost in the motor department.
It is obviously still the tire game and a lot of things that they do is way different than what we do, you know, so their competition level is obviously very high and ours is too. Same with IMCA, it's just they're kind of stuck in an older age on the IMCA stuff as far as a lot of the rules, but I enjoy racing UMP. I'd like to do some USMTS stuff, just never really had the opportunity to go.
Right. And so the quality of field here, obviously Logano jumped in. It did better than most thought, probably.
Yeah, for sure. I felt like he did a great job just watching his hot laps yesterday. Got in it and run really well right off the bat and hasn't practiced that thing or nothing. So I enjoy them kind of guys coming over here and playing with us. You know, I think it gives them a lot of respect for what we do, especially like, you know, Larson there running the late model. He's been successful, but, you know, it gives him a whole nother respect for us fender guys. Now,
I mean, we can talk about that a little bit. I know it looks like to me Larson in that late model is so smooth and adaptive to it. For one, I think that his Cup experience transfers to these style cars pretty well. I mean, it you know, a lot of the they talk about the technology with Rumley, and he was at Harvick and all that. You know, so and brought some of that technology over. Rayburn would talk about running his late models on asphalt to move stuff and change stuff for the dirt cars. So, is there a pretty
so I feel like the stock car experience helped him, but you got to look at Kyle, like he's raced every form.
Well, everything, yes, of course.
And so that's what helped him the most, I feel like. But yeah, the stock car deal, he's used to racing a sprint car that's running around here at 130, 140 mile an hour, and he gets in that late model and kind of feels slow to him, you know what I mean, or slower. And obviously Rumley's got that thing hooked up. It's really good. And everybody wants to give Rumley all the limelight, which he should. He's very good.
Maybe in the fendered world they give Rumley the limelight, but in the open world it's all Kyle Larson.
Yeah, Kyle Larson gets in that thing. He's still got to drive it, and you know, he makes it happen. So I tell people, everybody asks me that why is Kyle so good, and I use the term his racecraft is way better than most. Just watch him at Chili Bowl and those type of events. His racecraft is far beyond most of us.
Well, it seems like, though, I'm more so talking about the driving style. You know, they put him in the Prelude, obviously, the NASCAR guys, and some of them caught on pretty well. It looked like there's that similar kind of roll the car in the corner kind of driving style that will transfer to the late models and modifieds, unlike a sprint car where you're full bore and just pitch it in and drive it in as hard as you can, or a midget, same thing.
Yeah, and I've got experience now in a midget, so I can kind of go both ways.
It's a little different. I mean, you kind of drive the car with the rear of the car.
Yeah,
you know,
it's all throttle.
With this, it's like right front. It seems like
right
balancing
front,
off that, which is similar to an asphalt car.
And so, like, say the racetrack tonight, you know, when it gets slick and slow like that, where you're kind of just momentum around here, it's all like an asphalt race. You know what I mean? Your car's got to be good, and then you just got to be smart with the throttle and not sheer traction, which is what those asphalt guys are really good at. So Kyle getting in that thing, I've talked to him quite a few times about driving that car, and he always says that once the track slows down, that's when he's fine. You know, he feels like every time when the track's fast, he's got way too much grip and he's too tight, he can't steer. Which a lot of
it's kind of odd because word on the street is he loves his sprint car tighter than regular guys can handle, which is but a sprint car turns no matter what, it seems like.
Yeah, with a late model, you get in there and you bottom out. Like, he's not used to frame rails bottoming out and then just going straight, and he's like, man, I always feel like I'm just on the verge of too tight when the track's fast. And so I know Rumley's had to loosen that thing up a bunch for the way he drives, but once the track slows down, it comes down to just slowing down and being
that asphalt style.
Yeah, is where he really shows.
Well, and he's got a lot of laps. I mean, I don't know why people are not thinking of that, because he's got a ton of laps in a Cup car.
Yeah.
I mean, he does. The asphalt stuff, he had how many years racing week in and week out practices, time trials, everything. I mean, that experience is in him.
Yeah, and he did the right thing in racing everything.
Well, he's the lucky one.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people say he's won and all this stuff, but who all else can we compare him to?
Yeah.
Who else in the racing world period's gotten to the best Silver Crown sprint cars, late models, midgets, and across the board? The only thing he hasn't shined in his Cup, and that's because he wasn't in a good car. He was doing more than what he had.
Yeah, we're gonna see a lot this year with him being in a Hendrick car. And, should go really well. I think that's why he's kind of taking a step back from the dirt stuff a little bit and kind of focus on the asphalt deal and try and make the most of it. Show that he should be there. At that top.
Well, and the Cup stuff's so vehicle dependent. You think about it. Like, I was joking with Logano live. He may have been taking me seriously, but I was like, what's it like being in a pitting area with 100 cars that are competitive? You got to worry about. I was like, on Sundays you only got to worry about 10 or 15.
Yeah.
And he kind of laughed and said, no, there's about 25. And I responded. I said real quick. I said, well, Christopher Bell kind of disproved that, because we know in the dirt world, Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson are very comparable on talent ability.
Yep.
Christopher Bell got in one of those, field filler cars and was a field filler,
There's only a few of those races in the Cup Series that you can shine and make your ability, overpower the race car, and that's, a couple of short tracks.
Like Larson at Bristol would shine and stuff like that.
And then, if you're a good road racer,
Go.
Mm-hmm. And then the luck of the draw at Talladega or Daytona, like next week at Daytona, anybody could win that deal, and it's shown, So yeah, just once you get to that asphalt level and you get to the top level of any kind of sport, it gets really tough, and it's all about being in the right equipment and making the right adjustments and stuff. And that's where I feel like the Christopher Bell and the Kyle Larson and midgets and sprint cars, like, the sprint cars haven't evolved in 30 years.
Right.
They're still running. Me and Sheldon Hodenshield were joking about it today. I was like, you guys got it nice. Like, you don't have to cover your cars up or nothing, because everybody kind of knows what you got. You're running the same stuff. And
and I've talked to Tim McCready about the differences between his late model and his big block, because the big blocks, which will be here Tuesday, they're pretty similar to a sprint car. Bar cars, they just recently got back onto the springs.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of cool stuff now.
Right.
And learning a lot there.
And they're starting to cover up their back portions now. I guess the coil's just as big of a deal, I guess.
It is, and for them, the coils are making grip, and the big Nell cars were beating them for a while on the coils, and so I'm really good buddies with Max McLaughlin, and I had to kind of help him out a little bit at the beginning with some spring smash stuff, because that's for us, like late models and modifieds, we're all using spring smashers and doing all that, where you didn't have that on torsion bar car.
And they still got a few of them back and forth. It's all about what's trendy. I'm sure if you came out with a part next week and whooped everyone's ass, it may have been you that was doing it, but your part's about to sell.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's monkey see monkey do in any form of motorsports, and some more than others, but the sprint car deal is kind of nice because they haven't evolved, and they haven't needed to, I guess.
Right. Yeah. It's weird how the evolvement goes, and even in racing, you were talking about quality of car when you get to a higher level. That's kind of why I say here on the dirt tracks is somewhat, it may not be higher paid, but as far as competition level of competitive, you know, in my opinion, it's right at the top. I mean, you can't really name another form of motorsport where people are taking it that serious like we are.
Yeah.
And it's got so many competitors running for a decent amount of money because, mind you, I mean, Supercross riders are it's $800 to start in a Supercross race.
They're risking their life every
but
time.
they're making their money because they get that exposure, that national exposure, that respect. So their sponsors and everything are paying it, factory support, stuff like that. So with the dirt track thing, it's kind of like, you know, what's the deal? Why is the racing deal? I kind of think sometimes the regular idiot, I call him idiot, and that's the majority of the country, unfortunately, when it comes to racing, they just don't know how it works.
Yep.
You know, they're relating a NASCAR series to like the NFL. And if you go up to somebody right now and say, hey, guy, there's another football league out there way better than the NFL, more competitors, can throw the ball better, all that, there's no way you would believe him. That would sound insane. And that's kind of the battle I think we sort of struggle with in racing, is trying to tell people about that. You know, it's a little hard.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, Lucas Oil does probably the best job. You know, the flow deal is nice and them broadcast races and stuff, but Lucas Oil does a really well job of, you know, getting races on television for the late model guys. And,
but don't you think that's still bad in a way? Because it's a segregated form of motorsport. You know, I think the worst thing that ever happened to racing was Speed Channel. Because prior to Speed Channel, if you were going to watch a race on TV, dirt or anything, it was on an ESPN or on another channel where other people from other sports were. So when you moved it from an ESPN or something like that to a Speed Channel, now the only person tuning in to watch are the racing people. And that's what you got with MAV. And even the streaming services are basically based on making money off of the fan, not exposing the sport to new people.
Correct. Yeah, and it's a tough deal any way you look at it, you know. And I remember growing up, you used to have Thursday Night Thunder on ESPN.
And even you know, World Outlaws on ABC.
Yeah.
You know, Super Syracuse Big Block. You know, and that's the day. You know, we're talking about pay. You know, 1984, I documented it. Kinzer was racing for $50,000 at Kings Royal when they were paying $47,000 at Talladega.
Yeah.
You know, so it was a little bit different then too, as far as payout and recognition.
And a lot of people give us, you know, the modified guys crap because, you know, we're only racing for $1,000 each night, and there's 90 of us that show up. But these cars are pretty affordable to race. You know, like the average working guy can come out here.
IMCA guys would yell at you, you're wrong, because they got the little crate motor.
Exactly. But you know, like my deal, I'm fortunate enough. My dad does my motors, and so I don't have much cost in a motor. But you know, I'm fortunate to work with a lot of great partners. But I build everything on this car. You know what I mean? And you know, there's plenty of guys. You know, they say that we're the working man's class, and you know, it is. You just get to work and make your stuff better.
I think that could be a good statement because you can actually maybe work your way to get on the track with you. Like if you look at like a Cup. I mean, I'm using the racing example that the world knows about. You got to be 17 years old with probably $20 million invested into you to even really have a shot to do that.
Yep.
You go to 25, you're too old. Out here, you could be a Ricky Thornton Jr. In my example, is the greatest working to where he's at example there is. You can actually work your way, save up $100,000 that you may need for a trailer and a truck and a car, and go, you know, compete with somebody. You know,
for sure. You know, and now he's at the level, like Ricky's at the level now where he's got a car owner and stuff. And I've been fortunate enough to drive for some really great late model teams, and I've been able to race kind of every form of motorsport. I ran 3 or 4 truck races in NASCAR. You know, grew up running a lot of asphalt stuff, but I grew up watching my dad race dirt modifieds, and that's what I really love doing. And so I decided to start this chassis company and go full bore at it, and it's obviously worked out really well for me. So, you know, anybody can do it. You know?
You can work your way here. That's all I was saying. Like the working man, you can work your way there, because it's really hard for a guy working 9 to 5 right now making $25 an hour to afford this. But you can save over a few years and get to this at least.
And like you don't need a big trailer and a big hauler and all that type of stuff. Like me as a chassis builder, I got to haul a lot of spare parts.
Right.
And, you know, for customers, I got 12 cars in this row right here that are all my cars that are, you know, going to beat and bang a little bit and tear front bumpers up or whatever, and I gotta have all this stuff for them. So I got a pretty nice operation now, I feel like, and you know, I've had to work pretty hard to get here. But when I first started, we used to bring a dually and just a decent gooseneck trailer down here in 2012. won the Gator National, tomorrow's event, 5,000, and I was just a nobody at that point. That really put me on the map. And got my name out there, and that same year is when I decided to start my chassis company. So, I
just think a Nick Hoffman should be just as relevant in the world as a Joey Logano. That's my issue.
Yeah.
Which you should. There's no reason you shouldn't be if you look at it from a competitive, high-level competitor in racing. That you're beating Fields tougher than what he's beating, in my opinion.
The only thing I really work on hard is my social media stuff and put my name out there that way, and that's all.
Well, you got some lovers and you got some haters.
Oh, yeah. You're gonna have that.
You're in the chassis war, though. So what is this? To me, the UMP modified scene. In late model racing, you got your established people. There's not really a hatred of some sorts, really, but in micro racing, which I think is the most competitive form of open wheel racing, I mean, you see Larson, he struggles to make an A, and I think that's because there's so many guys who can't afford a top level car. Like if you want to go beat Larson in a midget, you need a $100,000 midget. If you want to go beat him in a micro, you need about 30.
Yeah.
And that's similar to here. And in the micro world, it's a huge battle in the chassis manufacturer industry. Yeah. And that seems to be the case in the modified world. There's a chassis war, and I'm sure you know about it.
Yeah, there's more probably chassis companies in the modified stuff than any other form of racing. I mean, I bet there's over 250 chassis companies across the country. And then you come down here and you got your 5 or 6 different chassis companies that are strong runners.
How many do you think there are competitive countrywide? Like really can show up to a USMTS or UMP or big IMCA race? So, you got to include the Midwest like Harris and stuff like that.
Yeah. So like I feel like there isn't very many of them that are going to compete in every series. Like your IMCA deal, I feel like Rage has got probably one of the best cars. Harris is obviously building a really nice car. So all those guys. Then you have
a Hughes that was here. That's a Texas-based one,
so Jason does a really good job. And then you go over to the USMTS land, Zach Vanderbeek with the Vanderbilt cars. They're building really nice cars. Hughes builds a good car for that
MB
deal.
Customs, obviously, is a high-ticket item.
And then you come over to, our racing here in UMP, and, my deal, Strimmy, the Lethal deal, and now the Longhorn.
I guess in Hughes country, you would have IRP, Shaw.
Yeah.
Shaw used to be really big. Used to dominate everything with Wayne Brooks.
Yeah, and so, over here you got Lethal and Longhorn and us, and Diamond builds a really good car. There's a lot of different, chassis companies that come and go. But, it's just all about trying to stay on top of the game is more than anything.
Now, what's some of the cutthroat wars behind the scenes in this deal? It seems like there are some willing and Dillons and hate and spite. And if a guy that is your guy changes, that seems to be a big deal, especially if he's a winner or up front, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't let it bother me too much. I just get to work and work harder. But yeah, obviously I lost to pretty high talented guys.
McKinney used to have one, right?
And Nicely, both of them. So they both switched this year.
Was that over a manufacturer issue or like limited number or something like that?
I only build a certain amount every year. But McKinney's deal, he's in tight with Bilstein. Bilstein's tight with Longhorn. So he, that was what made most sense for him. Tyler just, wanted to go a different direction, and I'm still, good buddies with both of them. I can't blame him for trying to do something different to get better. Try and help your own program. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a chassis war, if you want to call it that. But it's just the biggest thing is. Don't complain about other stuff. Just get out and get to work and try to make your stuff the best.
So there isn't nothing else past that. Is there one chassis guy who don't like you? And because I hate that war's in micro racing all day, especially in regions like West Coast. There's a little bit of a drama between 10J and Driven. They're both West Coast in that little circle pocket. There's some that are in North Carolina. There's got to be somebody who don't like somebody up in there. You ain't got to call them out, but
for sure. I mean, like you see it, and a lot of people complain or bitch about my stuff or whatever, but yeah, I mean, there's basically 4 chassis companies in my same town.
Right.
With me, Strimmy only, his shop's 2 miles from my house. Then the Longhorn deal is right down the road too, and then you got Rudiman building cars on the other side of town, which I'm really good friends with David. He probably builds. Like quality-wise, there's not a nicer modified in the country than what David Rudiman builds. That Beak Built deal, his stuff is super nice, and
I heard there's a lot of technology in the Longhorn.
Yeah, I mean
that's what I've just been hearing walking around.
Trickles down from late models,
Right.
So whatever they do on the late model stuff, and their late model stuff is obviously excelling right now. Their stuff is running really well, and it trickles down to the modified stuff or whatever.
Does it just got stuff that you don't know about that's in the late model, or
No,
is it just
not really.
stuff you know about but you think what you got going is just as good or if not better?
My stuff rolls around here really well. So right now I feel like we got the top car here this week. So I'm leading the points.
That Arpin looked good though.
He did. He looked pretty good there in that feature, but track's latching up and rubbering at the end of our feature there, so it's only going to get better, faster.
Well, you had McKinney right there, but
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like Arpin had a few tenths on everybody.
He had them all covered for sure in his feature there.
What do you think about him coming back? I mean, obviously he went out to the rally deal. Popularity in dirt definitely went away. It looks like he came back trying to get some of that popularity back. Anything else besides that? Besides their nice setup they got over there, that's influencing people, huh?
Yeah, it's nice. He was very good modified racer back in his heyday there, and obviously still good. Could still get the job done. But yeah, it's pretty cool. He's bringing a lot of different fan base, I guess, over to our sport.
Hopefully.
Those rallycross people are a lot different than us.
I think you got more likes than him.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know how much he's bringing, but it's not like he dominated him. I mean, he was a competitor, but although rallycross guys don't pretty much, if you're anything but a NASCAR racer, you get no respect. I mean, so you don't get too much glamour in the situation, but
that deal's pretty neat. They can do X Games and all that type of stuff.
I think that I've honestly tried to talk to a few people. I think that would be a great way to expose what we got going on is the X Games event.
Yeah, so
how many people would enter it though? Because I don't know, they don't have much money.
It's pretty funny. Like my sister and brother-in-law own Millbridge Speedway, the go-kart track there, and they're real big into outlaw kart stuff and the micro stuff, and they've talked to X Games before about trying to get like an expedition outlaw kart race there. Stick like a Kyle Larson and a Christopher Bell all in outlaw karts and do like a deal there.
I would rather bring real dirt race. No offense, but I'd rather they got a flat track for the motorcycles.
Yep.
I mean, throw some sprint cars, and I mean, who wouldn't? The exposure you would get for that is just unreal. Finally, some recognition for what you're doing out there. Because unfortunately, a modified to most people is a 68 Chevrolet or something. They don't, or a sprint car is a Miata. They don't know what you're talking about. It's sad, that our stars, a Nick Hoffman has to burn in his car and die to be on ESPN tomorrow. That's the only way right now, currently in the situation. Question though, that may be changing because I'm talking for you, even though you hate me. But what I want to... No, I'm just kidding. I love Kyle Steffens. But let's keep going. The Bristol Dirt Nationals. Obviously, manufacturers got to be keeping an eye on that. And drivers. Is that a big deal for you at all, performing well there with your cars or anything? Because I saw a lot of concern from chassis builders about parts and all that, but the track's apparently going to be completely different than it was before. Yeah,
but we're still going to see higher loads and higher speeds than we see it even this place. So we're working on some different stuff. We got some different spindles that we're getting worked on right now to strengthen things up, to make sure we don't have any issues when you go off in the corner and break a right front and plug it head on in the fence or something. So it's gonna be pretty cool to be on the a national stage like that at Bristol. Obviously, when they did it 20 years ago, it was a really big deal, and this is gonna be big. So I'm gonna enjoy going there and turn laps there.
Well, I'm gonna be there, so if you bust some NASCAR ass, I'm gonna be talking about it.
So I've had a lot of NASCAR guys calling me to try and rent a car to drive, and I only have one car anyway. But I just, wouldn't be able to do something for them. So I was like,
What were some of the names? You can sneak a peek.
Yeah, I mean, like Kurt Busch's guys, they reached out. They reached out to a couple different people, and then Chase Briscoe. So just a couple different people.
So those are kind of the typical names you would expect to do it. Because I think Kurt Busch did the Gateway Dirt Nationals, or did he sign up and not show up?
He never raced it.
He never raced. I know he signed up or got invited.
Yeah, he never raced it, but. I mean, like, he does a little bit of street stock stuff, like just kind of screwing around. So I tell him, like, a modified really, it's going to help you with dirt racing in general. If you want to learn how to drive cup cars, you might as well get in street stock.
Well, you almost might as well get into a cup car on dirt, because There's a video on YouTube where a guy takes a dirt late model and goes on an asphalt track, and it looks like Tokyo Drift. It looks like it's on a dirt track. Same thing applies when you take a Cup car and put it on dirt. It's going to look like it's on an asphalt track, you know. And you saw that with the trucks pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, and I ran that one race there at Eldora, so, you know, it was basically like racing on street stock. So, yeah, there's a lot of differences there. And
even the street stock, though, street stock still yaw out a little bit more, you know, I mean.
The margin for error in the truck deal, you know, if you just stood on the gas too hard, you just spun out. Like, that's why you see a lot of them guys spin out so much in, like, hot laps and stuff at Eldora. It's pretty easy to just dump it, you know. So it makes them hard to drive, at least.
That's kind of scary when you consider they're going to be going a lot. They're not going to be going fast, but they're going to be going a lot faster at Bristol.
Yeah.
And they got about just as much banking to lean on to bring the car back. I mean, they're going to be going in there that much more faster, leaning, and you're saying it's that touchy. That's kind of it almost sounds like it's going to be spin out city.
Yeah, I mean at Eldora it was very easy to just spin out. You know, that's why you see a lot of them guys spin out. It's just like all you do is just, if you want to mash the gas and make little circles, it's not hard to do, you know.
Well, Strickler was saying when he did it, he noticed how it was still basically just like an asphalt race in a way, as far as if you're in a good car, you're going to be up front. If you're in a shitty car, you're going to be at the back.
We were both in this. We were teammates for that deal, and in one of Mike Mittler's trucks, and really, you know, well prepared truck. But like the KBM trucks, you know, by that year, that was only like 2 years ago. You know, they had raced it so many times. They had such a good notebook, the KBM guys, that, I mean, it basically turned into an asphalt race. Like, they had so much more grip than we did, and they just had a really good notebook. And
I think the asphalt stuff transitions more so than your dirt. It's just,
so, like, you look at, you know, Bubba won that race. You know what I mean? And he'd never raced on dirt before. You know,
no, it doesn't matter. You don't need it.
Yeah. So
well, the only one who stood out, and I told him that, was the Bobby Pierce year. And he made a good point. He's like, well, that year they slicked the track off really hard. You had to really pedal it. You could make up for it.
Yeah.
My response was, well, that don't sell $3.5 million renter rides if their little rich kid runs in the middle of the pack and Bobby Pierce beats them. You know, so it looked like they started catering a little bit to the quality trucks.
Yeah, and like I was really fast in practice there, and it was just because the track had a cushion, you know, where like the asphalt guys could, you know, elbow up, or the dirt guys could elbow up and get on the cushion and you know, haul ass up there, and then the next day it just no curb and like just hit the fence, you know what I mean? So then, you know,
basically it's turned into like an asphalt, like a Salem or something, where you're just rolling it.
Momentum and just whoever's got the most grip, you know, and so yeah, it's a tough deal.
Are you worried at all, like I am, that in a year or two that the regular person that don't know, you know, sprint cars is going to think that NASCAR created heat races and four wide salutes?
Right. Yeah. That's.
Are you worried about that? I mean, that's what I'm screaming and yelling about. I'm just saying I can't let that happen.
Right. Yeah. The average
manipulation.
NASCAR fan, the average NASCAR fan that don't even know that we exist, they're going to think this is great.
The average person, that's who I'm worried about, is the people that, honestly, when you talk about not paying out and all that, I look at it, I studied the sport pretty well. It's a lack of real world relevance to, and this happens across the country. Most people are jacking up their back gate prices because they can't make money off the front gate. Yeah. Traditionally, back in those days when Kinzer was racing for more than Earnhardt Sr., they had so many people coming in the front gate that that was where you got your purse, was the front gate. You made money on the back and concessions.
Yeah.
You know, so that regular idiot back then wasn't a regular idiot. Now we got a bunch of people who kind of been manipulated, I think, to think that you know, NASCAR's NFL and nothing else really even exists.
Yeah, well, the problem is or a lot of the problem is most of these kids are raised now that they don't want to work on stuff and don't really care to go racing. Back then, you know, you had all these, you know, kids, they'd be 18 years old and be racing street stocks, and all their buddies want to go hang out and work on a street stock. Nowadays, you know, you struggle to find somebody that just wants to, you know, lend a hand or help on a race car. So, yeah, I mean, NASCAR,
well, and that could also lead to, you know, not people just not knowing it's there.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not really cool or trendy. You know, I mean, it's not something that people want to do. I just think if we had a lot of regular idiots, you know, who don't know any better, thinking heat races and all that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there with a lot of money. Instead of if they knew that this was even here, instead of $100,000 or $200,000 on a boat, they might buy a race team and put a driver in it. You know, that's a thing we miss too, is car owners. We don't have anybody wanting to own a car and put hot shoes in it. We got people who want to own a car and rent it out, because that's the only way you make money in racing right now, because the payouts don't match the cost of the cars like they used to.
Yeah, for sure. That's what, Keith Coons and them guys have done a really good job in the midget size, making money renting cars.
And that's the best business model in racing right now, honestly, if you think about it.
I can make good money renting a deal with my stuff. I just don't really have the manpower to do it, and I'm trying to race myself, and so it's a tough deal. You have to kind of give that up to go full time. You look at Chad Boat, that's what he did, but he's making a good living.
Isn't that detrimental to the sport, though, in a way?
Yeah, I mean, it sucks because these kids that come in and just spend the money to get in a
right. It influences people to not want to work on cars.
Yeah, because the kid over there, his dad's got a bunch of money. He can just go rent the kid a ride and be in the top stuff, and he might be a half-ass driver, but it'll make him look good.
Well, I think that we've hit a big issue in 5-year-olds to 14-year-olds, not hating on the outlaw kart stuff, but it just seems like that's the only way you're going to become a successful racer in the eye of the world, is if you're in a good situation at a very young age, which not a lot of people can even do. And even if you're a struggling parent, luckily Larson's parents hit it off well and got lucky, but there's a lot of situations, especially in North Carolina at go-kart tracks. There's a kid out there in a open little flatbed with his parents. They barely afforded to get his stuff together. He's out there waxing ass. And then there's another kid. They got 8 fucking carts and a stacker. And the NASCAR people are doing financial background checks on the parents before they even talk to anybody. And they're talking to the kid running over people in 10th instead of the winner. That's just so sad, Yeah,
it's a tough deal in any form of motorsports. It just there's nothing they can really do about it now.
I just think if we got more people knowing about the Nick Hoffmans in these cars, they'd be coming in the gate so much they'd have to finally build stands. Bristol used to only have 50,000 people. Why can't we think we can get to that level? That's where I'm at, you know.
For sure. I mean, we can when we get to the national stage, like a Charlotte or something like that.
But no one's going to, I think we can't depend on them in NASCAR to give us that stage, because at the end of the day, the competition is us. In the marketing world, the thing that threatens a cup race on Sunday is everybody not watching them anymore and watching you. You're the threat. I think that's why they try to, give a little food to the dirt world, not to really help it, but to use it in a way to take the fan.
Yeah, and I mean, you see it with, NASCAR always posting stuff when Kyle wins or Christopher wins or all that.
Or when Joey Logano gets put in the lowest ranked field of the week and goes from 19th to 3rd, and then Dirt Car promotes it.
Yeah, but nobody knew that, so that was, he did a great job.
But that's just a part of manipulating the game in a way, which we got to fight, or I do. You got to be nice. You're in North Carolina.
I'm buddies with all them guys. So
the mafia is real, bro. They'll send them after you, I'm just playing. I guess I kept you too long. You got a sunshine hoodie on. This is bad. This is bad. What's your plan for the week, though? Are you running late mall?
No, I'm gonna go back home. I got a bunch of cars to get done. So just get back to work when I get back to the shop, and take a couple weeks off with this thing, and then get fired back up throughout the summer. Is your next hit big show or Bristol? Yeah. So we'll do. There's a 4-day deal at the end of the month in North Carolina. At their North Carolina Speed Week or something, and I'm going to do that at Fayetteville, and then we'll do Bristol. That would probably be the next one after that. So just get everything geared up, turned around for that. Thoughts on that at all, though, race-wise? I know we talked about it a little bit. We were more so talking about the chassis, but talking about racing that. It'll be interesting. Are you on iRacing with like the sprint car dirt stuff, trying to make laps on the asphalt version, or how much? Go ahead. I think it'll race well, as long as it ain't rough. That's what I worry about, is it getting really rough. But I think they're going to do, they'll obviously do their best to make it smooth, especially if you put a 3,400-pound stock car on it. It's, the Cup side, it's going to be pretty hard to keep. Well, y'all are basically supposed to pack the track for them, so that's where they got you. Track packers in any well, you wait till I get there. I'm going to race so much hell. They ain't going to think you're a track packer when you leave. But, what I wanted to say was, what do you think about the iRacing deal when it comes to a Logano?
or even a Larson into a late model. I mean, he may not have the late model experience, but you take somebody who knows how it feels to be out there in a sprint car or something and give them enough laps in iRacing, it can give you a little bit of a hint of what you're going to expect at least.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I like these kids growing up racing and stuff. I tell them that that's one of the best things you can do is just get on there and race. I grew up days where I used the keyboard to race on there.
Oh yeah, like the old DTRC and stuff. Like
so yeah, there was
R Factor.
NASCAR 2003 racing season and all that.
NASCAR or 2K3 as the winners used to say. I used to be in the DMP league and all that.
Well,
but
you gotta move outside.
oh boy, we're putting on too good of a show for everybody.
So,
but yeah, I think the iRacing helps a lot, and I think that it still can't make the car pretty, but it does a lot. I tell people all the time, if you got a kid that's going to get in racing or you're thinking of racing, until you can make laps in iRacing, you shouldn't even get a car because you're going to save a lot of money by doing the iRacing.
You learn a lot. Not about driving a race car, but situations that happen and you know and just different racecraft things. But yeah, I mean it's so
for a guy like
now.
Logano or somebody like that, it could be a big deal.
It's so good now. The iRacing deal is so realistic that I mean it'll help you in anything. Like before Chili Ball, I made laps in midget, just to make laps, but yeah, any of it.
Did you notice anything transfer?
Not 100%. They're running into shit with this thing.
Oh my god!
I didn't run into anything on the racetrack, and they're running into shit.
Well, you got that gateway deal on there. You didn't bottom out a right front frame or break 1 1/2, did you?
Yeah.
That's the gateway trend.
Yeah. So yeah, iRacing helps. Any of that computer racing, I feel like.
But did the Chili Bowl, did it help you at all?
Not really, but like I feel like
track layout. You gotta think in the past, people, if you never went there, you didn't get to race on the track.
So on iRacing, I feel like it's really hard to hit the bottom on the game, and it's really hard to hit the bottom, in real life. So just stuff like that. Learn how to woe up, and you gotta still stay bent in those cars. Where like this thing, you ride around there. If you want to woe up, you just steer around the racetrack.
Right.
The midget, if you get tight, you're in bad shape. So yeah, it's just learning different ways to drive.
I kept you up late.
Yeah.
You have half the bed sheets on.
Yeah.
Is this it? Is this that NASCAR technology right here coming through? Right?
Yeah. That's what everybody says at least.
Okay. Any shout outs?
No, it's all my sponsors. Fox Shocks, Where's Machine.
I thought you were gonna say thank God.
Yeah.
You don't even want to shout out God. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Fox Shocks, all the typical stuff that you own.
Yeah, everybody that helps me out, makes this deal possible. I couldn't do it without them.
All right. Thanks, I think.